Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Echoes of War. Every week we bring you forgotten survival systems, battlefield inventions, and hard-earned wisdom from history's toughest years. These aren't myths or dramatizations. They're real field-tested methods that once meant the difference between freezing or surviving, starving or enduring. Stay tuned to the end, because these 8 World War II survival tricks were so effective that many were classified, banned from manuals, and passed down only through whispers among veterans. Some tricks were never written down because they changed the rules of survival. Throughout the war, not every life-saving method was issued officially. In the mud, snow and smoke of Europe and the Pacific, soldiers learned things that didn't come from a handbook. They learned how to cheat frostbite, how to eat from the land, and how to stay invisible when being found meant death. Some methods worked too well, so well they never made it into peacetime training. Military intelligence often labelled them restricted, fearing misuse by enemies or civilians. Yet fragments of these tactics survived through diaries, captured documents, and interviews decades later. What makes these tricks timeless is their simplicity. They use basic elements, mud, cloth, fat, metal, and ash, but combine them in ways that gave soldiers a survival edge modern gear still struggles to match. Each one remains practical today, whether you're studying history, living off-grid, or training for emergencies where power and comfort vanish. Soldiers learned to make heat without smoke or flame. One of the most powerful secrets was how to generate warmth invisibly. Standard campfires revealed positions to enemy patrols miles away, so soldiers improvised smokeless burners using mud, grease and small fuel tins. They packed animal fat or motor oil with soil and lit it through a pinhole. The mixture smouldered instead of burning openly, giving steady heat without smoke or light. Field reports from the Eastern Front describe entire platoons keeping warm through nights below -20°C, using these hidden burners buried in pits under their shelters. The principle still works today. Mix oil and dry soil, seal it mostly airtight, and light it with minimal oxygen. The reaction sustains heat slowly and silently, which is, ideal for emergency heating or concealed cooking in a survival scenario. The trench insulation method turned frozen ground into a heated shelter. In the winter of 1942, Finnish and Soviet units discovered a strange trick. Packing walls of trenches with snow and moss actually trapped warmth. Snow, once compacted, acted as an insulator, while a thin lining of bark or cloth kept moisture from melting it inward. The effect turned a frozen pit into what soldiers called a snow cave furnace. To replicate it today, dig a small shelter compact snow tightly around it and add a thin barrier, plastic, fabric or bark, inside the walls. Place a slow-burning heat source, such as candles or hand warmers, at the centre. The snow walls trap radiant heat instead of letting it escape. It's an ancient principle of heat reflection, really, rediscovered by soldiers forced to survive weeks behind frozen lines. The meat tallow trick replaced gloves and stopped frostbite cold. One method, classified for decades, involved coating exposed skin with rendered animal fat. Fat creates a waterproof barrier that prevents moisture loss and, insulates skin from biting winds. German and Russian soldiers learned to rub tallow or even axle grease on their hands, faces and feet when gloves and boots froze. Modern studies confirm why it worked. Fats slow down evaporative cooling and act as a thermal barrier. A thin coat of natural tallow petroleum jelly or beeswax balm can still protect extremities during cold exposure or wet conditions. It's the same reason modern expedition creams, well, mimic those wartime mixtures. Improvised field filters kept soldiers alive when rivers were poison. Access to clean water was one of the most overlooked survival challenges of the Second World War. In many battle zones, rivers were filled with fuel, ash and blood. British commandos in North Africa developed a trick using charcoal, sand and wool packed in metal tubes from shell casings. The layers filtered enough impurities to make water drinkable without boiling. Recreating this method today takes only 3 layers. Fine charcoal at the bottom, sand in the middle, and cloth or cotton at the top. You just pour water through slowly and repeat 2 or 3 times. Now, it's not sterile, but it's definitely cleaner and safer than untreated runoff. This shell filter principle, actually became the foundation of modern portable purification systems. Clay and ash became a substitute for soap, toothpaste, and even antiseptic. When supply lines failed, soldiers turned to natural chemistry, really. Mixing ash and clay with a bit of water produced alkaline compounds strong enough to cut grease, kill bacteria, and even clean wounds. Field medics in Italy, for instance, reported using ash paste to disinfect tools when alcohol ran out. In civilian life, this same technique applies to cleaning cookware, removing odours, or even treating minor skin infections in survival conditions. The key is moderation. Too much ash can burn the skin, but small amounts create an effective cleanser with 0 chemicals. The simple cannon cloth trick. It's quite fascinating how it transformed cold air into precious condensation water. One of the most ingenious tricks indeed came from operations in the desert. Soldiers would stretch cloth over open tins and place small stones on top. As the temperature dropped overnight, moisture would condense under the cloth, dripping gently into the tins. This clever method could harvest up to half a litre of water per night in arid regions like Libya and Egypt. Today, this night condensing method, as we call it, can be applied anywhere humidity exists. By using 2 nested metal cans and a cloth barrier, even a simple backyard test can yield water overnight. It's a slow process, sure, but in survival situations, every drop counts. And the best part is, it's completely silent. The iron tin trick. Now, that's another clever solution, kept rations edible for months longer. Field rations often spoiled under heat and humidity, but some resourceful engineers found a way to extend their shelf life dramatically. They sealed meat or bread inside iron tins and coated the interior with a mixture of melted wax and ash. This coating prevented bacterial growth and kept the air out. Soldiers who rediscovered these tins months later found the food still perfectly edible. So, this technique actually mirrors modern vacuum sealing, and, well, it can be replicated at home for emergency supplies. Melted beeswax or paraffin wax, you see, creates an airtight layer that prevents oxidation. In long-term storage, it can preserve dry goods without refrigeration, just as it did in those wartime stockpiles. The quiet fire pit that could cook without revealing smoke. The Dakota fire pit, a design still taught in special forces, originated from field engineers during the Second World War. It used 2 holes, one for fire, another for air. The tunnel between them drew in oxygen, burning wood completely and reducing smoke to almost nothing. Soldiers could boil water or cook rations without revealing their position, even to nearby scouts. For modern use, dig 1 hole about a foot wide and a smaller air hole 6 inches away, connecting them underground. The airflow burns hotter and cleaner, making it ideal for camping, bug-out situations, or discrete heating. It's one of the few wartime methods still used, nearly unchanged today. These lost techniques remind us that true survival is knowledge, not equipment. Each of these tricks came from necessity, not design. Soldiers, stripped of tools, supplies and comfort, still managed to harness chemistry, heat and physics to stay alive. Their legacy isn't just about war. It's about what human ingenuity does under pressure. These techniques can be studied, practiced and adapted anywhere, from remote cabins to modern backyards. They prove that survival doesn't depend on expensive gear, but on understanding how to make nature work for you. If you value these kinds of rediscoveries, subscribe to Echoes of War and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts. There's still more buried knowledge waiting to be unearthed, lessons from soldiers who learned to survive when everything else failed.